Okay. So I have to pass on an info before I start my session. So let me show you what the problem is with private videos. So you can see private videos here, but it won't be visible for you guys. Since I am the owner, I am able to see the list something what I am sharing on my screen. Let me minimize this. Okay, but you guys will not be able to see. That is the reason you have been given the links for the private videos. But YouTube stopped, you know, providing Gmail accounts to access these videos. So somehow it is not working now. So what I did, I just moved all my private videos, okay, all my private videos to here, to another Google account. Okay, so let me show you that part. So for the people who have joined recently, like 20 days back or 1 month back, I started giving them access via Google Drive. Okay, so these are all the same videos. There is no difference. All the videos that are in private mode, I just uploaded onto Google Drive. I thought of going with what is that? Mm, Vimeo, but when I'm paying it, it is not taking, somehow it is not working. So I thought better to switch back to Google Drive. But these are not downloadable. You can just view them because I know the issues what I got. So I stopped, granting permissions to download. That is the reason. Same videos. There is no, difference at all. It's just instead of uh, YouTube, you will access it from Google Drive. That's it. For the people who have joined just recently, just because some people are getting confused. I'm sharing the link. They are saying the Google Drive link is not accessible. When I'm sharing the YouTube link, some are saying that link is not accessible. So um, when I shared you a Excel sheet, if that contains private videos with YouTube as the link, then you can straight away watch that. And for the people who got Google Drive links, it means that you are having some problems. That is the reason I shifted from YouTube private videos to Google Drive. I just wanted to update this, so that's the reason. Okay, let's start our session. Mm, there are few questions that are roaming around, um, like some interview questions, what I've seen. So I thought better to make a video on this. There are so many interview questions, but still there are some gaps. I don't know why the gaps happen all the time. Maybe because of knowledge gap, I feel so. So I will just try to cover up that. Let me show you this also. This is also required. So, so I don't want to mention their names, but I just wanted to highlight the things, whatever that is there already with us. Okay. So coming to migrations. So there are many questions in our group when it comes to migration, saying that uh, how to answer the best answer for each migration. So first thing first, when it comes to migration, guys, you have to remember what is your target. Okay. What is your target? So I will cover only IAAS as my target for today, and we'll talk about MI and Azure SQL a bit later. Okay. So the target, if my target is IAAS, when I say IAAS, it is for Azure VMs. When I say EC2, it is for AWS. So that means we have the operating system. When I say IAS, we have the operating system. So just remember that when I say PaaS, there is no operating system. When I say IAS, there is operating system. This is a fundamental difference, and I told this n number of times, but I'm just repeating that again. Okay. So when you are migrating from on-premises to IAS, what are the options and what will be your approach? What are the different migration techniques that you can think of? Okay, that is the agenda for today. And if time permits, we will cover that least timeout issues a bit more. I mean, how to project that answer properly in interview. Okay, so let's start with this. So if your versions is on 2008 or 2012, okay, so they are already outdated. First of all, they are already out of support. Even 2014 is already out of support. 2016 is going to happen in next year. So definitely there will be migration projects in your environments for sure. So when your migration is about from moving from on-prem to cloud, especially IaaS, so what are the different techniques that you can project into your company, or you can talk about in your interviews strategically, so that you will have some kind of upper hand. So that is what I'm just showing you. We already made some videos. Okay, so what are the different base? First, let's talk from basics, and then we'll move from basics to advanced. Okay, what are basic when you move from 2008 to 2012 to higher versions, 2019 or 2022? Let's go better to go with 2022 so that end of life support will be there till 2033, right? So if I wanted to move from 2008 R2 or 2008, whatever it is, 2008 R2 to 2022, is it possible to back up and restore? Just let's start with the basics. Backup and restore is possible from 2008 R2 to 2022. Just think this interview question. Of course, these are interview questions only.
No, bro.
Okay. No is one answer what I got. So this is not in place. I'm saying again, this is backup and restore. I will say again, backup and restore. Just taking the backup from 2008 version, SQL version to 2022 or 2019, whatever it is. Best to go with 2022. So let's talk about 2022 only. No is the answer what I got, but unfortunately, you can restore happily. It works perfectly fine. Even if your databases are on 2005, you can restore it from 2005 to 2019. If you don't believe me, there is an article from Paul Randall. I will show you that article as a reference. Just a second. I lost my screen. SQL skills, Paul Randall, migration from SQL 2005 to 2019. Something like this, I'll search. See, this is the answer. Um, Many people think that you can't do, okay? But that is not the case. So if you, this is the proof what SQL skills, I mean to say Paul Randall is doing. So when Paul Randall is saying, we can definitely believe in this. I hope so. I'm not saying from my side. This is the proof that I'm saying, coming up with, okay? So so for example, I'm having 2005, which is not there at all now, but still I'm just showing you up. You can go from 2005 to any higher version, any higher version. So now he is proving you that restoring SQL Server 2005 directly to 2016 and 2014 and 2012 as well, it works perfectly fine. There will be no issues whatsoever. Okay. So when someone asks you to, just like interview question, so when you try to restore from 2008 to 2022, would it be possible? Yes, definitely, 100% it is possible. Okay, it's just a backup and restore. It will work. I'm not saying about in place. We are just talking about backup and restore. Okay, so there is a bit of confusion over there, but just rule out them. This N-2 rule is only applicable in case of in-place upgrades. So there is something called as N-2, means higher version. If higher version is 2016, you can go back up to 2012. N-2 is 20. If I take 2016, for example, N-2 is 2014, and then N-1 is 2014, N-2 is 2012. Okay, so that rule is only applicable for in-place updates, not for side-by-side. When you say side-by-side, majority will go with backup and restore, right, as a basic, technology. So if that is the case, that rule is not applicable. You can restore 2008 backup to 2022. It's possible, and this is the proof. Okay, so any questions here? Okay, so now coming to the next options, what we have. Okay, so if your source is if your source is 2008 to 2016, what are the options that you can think of to move to 2022, target as 2022? What are the different options that you can think of? Again, I'm saying this is only for IAAS, only for IAAS. I'm not touching PAS at all in this session. Let me write it down. Any other options apart
Lock
from,
shipping.
yeah. So we can think of lock shipping from 2008 to 2022. So do you think lock shipping will work from 2008 to 2022?
Vamsi Garu, it was working. Actually, I did it from 2012 to 16. It was working. I didn't test it out for this.
Yeah, 2012 to 2016, it falls under the bracket of N-2. So definitely there will not be any issues. So do you think a kind of lock shipping technology from 2012, for example, let's say, for example, 2012 to 2022, will it work?
I believe it may work.
technically speaking, it should work. Okay, 2012 to 2022, it should work. But the catch here is when you say log shipping, we have two configuration modes, right? One is for standby, and another one is no recovery mode. Okay, standby, it's not at all possible. Okay, standby is not possible. And if it is no recovery model, yes, it is possible. Okay, but I didn't test on 2008. Perhaps I need to check 2008, but 2012, no issues. You can configure log shipping between 2012 to your 2019 or 2022. Okay, so this is a common approach. Like people will say log shipping or backup restore. These two things are very common. Okay, so these are the regular answers what people just pass when it comes to IAAS as your targets. But now coming to different answers. So if my source is from 2016, okay, if source is 2016 and above, that means it could be 2016 or 2017. Even 2017 is going to get out of support in 2028, I believe, or 2027. 2028, I believe, so. It's going to be out of support in 2028.
No, July 20,000 27, Vamsi garu.
Okay, 27. Okay. So even it's going to happen in another 2 years, which is, I mean, it can happen very quickly. So if your target is 2022 and if your source is 2016 and 2017, instead of saying the traditional answers like log shipping or backup restore, there are some advanced technologies that you can think of. Okay. So let me explain with 2017 as my target for the moment. Okay. And then we'll come back to 2016 a bit uh, after this discussion. Okay. If my source is 2017, how will you move the database from 2017 to 2022 and with very minimal downtime? When I say very minimal downtime, it is always less than a minute in my scenario. For example, let's consider banking domain. If that is the case, with less than 1 minute downtime, how can you achieve this? Also, this is a standalone server.
Okay. We can configure DAG.
Yeah. So that is the problem. I explained everything, but you don't know when to make use of those scenarios. That is the reason I opened this up specifically, saying that what are the links, what we got, and how to make use of them. Okay. So now I'll tell you. So this video is there, right? How to configure distributed always on between two standalone servers. So if I wanted to leverage distributed always on DAG, okay, first of all, from 2017, you can configure this on, sorry, not this one. You can configure this on standalone servers also. So that is the beauty of DAG. You don't need to have clustering or what is that availability groups, everything. Okay, even if it is a standalone box, you can completely make use of DAG to migrate your databases from 2017 to 2022 instantaneously. When I say instantaneously, with just a flip. Just need to fail over, right? Once we configure DAG, all the databases will be part of DAG. And once I'm ready, I will just flip the databases from source to target. So source is 2017 and my target is 2022. Why only from 2017? Why not in the previous versions? So that is the next question you can think of. Why only from 2017? Why not from anything less than 2017? The problem here is, yeah, go ahead.
Clusterless was feature
Exactly.
introduced in 2017 only.
Exactly. So these are the points that you should highlight when you are appearing for interviews, right? So that is what I'm saying. 2017. So when I say standalone server, it means it works on even without any clustering, right? So the thing is that even from 2016 itself, we got DAG. Okay. DAG is there from 2016. From 2016 itself, we have DAG. But on 2016, we don't have something called as clusterless availability groups. From 2016, we have DAG technology, but from 2017 only, SQL started supporting clusterless availability group. Clusterless. When I say clusterless, means there is no clustering, no always on, nothing. Okay, so that is the reason when I wanted to employ DAG as the methodology to move to migrate the databases from 2017 to 2022, it supports only from 2017 because clusterless availability groups support is there only from 2017. DAG is there from 2016, but unfortunately, clusterless availability group support is there only from 2017. That is the reason whenever someone says my source is 2017, standalone box. Okay, not even always on, standalone box. And my target is 2022. Definitely your answer should be DAG. Okay, DAG, and this is the reference video. So if you just watch this video, you will straight away get to know how to configure and how to achieve this. I hope this is clear. I'm just referring my videos with interview questions so that at least you will focus on it going forward. Any questions here? Is this clear? Let me check.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Where is today's session? Okay. Okay. No questions. Okay. Okay. Now coming back to now same thing, same source like 2017 only. Source is 2017. And I have always on setup already on those servers. Always on setup is there already. Is there. Okay. And I need to move this to 2022. And target is 2022. The first scenario is source is standalone box. Second scenario is source is 2017, but this time we have always on setup already in place. So how to achieve this instantaneously? Again, same question. So if that is the case, again, I'm repeating, this is not just applicable for Azure virtual machines. This is applicable even for AWS EC2. Okay, so there will not be any changes, whether it is AWS or Azure or Google. Since this is infrastructure as a service, we have the operating system and this techniques remains the same. There will not be any change. Okay, how you configure VPN and VPC? I mean, the terms may change, but the configuration, the settings remains the same. Okay, so just focus on that. It's not just applicable for Azure. Source is 2017 and the target is 2022, but source is having always on setup. How to achieve this? So this is something called as, we have something called as rolling upgrade. Okay, so there is something called as rolling upgrade, but very important point that you have to remember and to convey in your interviews is rolling upgrade works. Okay, only if your operating system is n-1. I will explain very clearly, just don't worry. Only works if it is only works if my operating system is n-1. This is nothing related to SQL Server. I am repeating this again. This is nothing related to SQL Server. This is about operating system. Only works if my operating system version is n-1. So what is n-1? Let's understand this. I'm not very good at drawing here. So let me see if I can draw something. Draw any options here. I think Zoom provides options to draw. Anyone who is familiar? Drawing apps. No, not this one. Okay, let's go with MS Paint. Okay, so this is, imagine I have two servers in 2017, already part of always on. Okay, and then on straight line. And now I need to move to 2022. Okay, this is my requirement. These two servers, let's name this as N1. What is that? Text, right? Where is the text? Not this one.
Yeah, symbol.
Which one, bro?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, okay, okay. Sorry, I'm very weak at this, so please excuse me. Okay, now I can type node 1, and now I have something called as node 2. These two are in always on setup. Always on is there between the databases, and they are currently running on 2017. First, let's discuss about 2017 and we'll then come back to 2016. So this is 2017, okay? Or else even we can include 2016 also. So 2017 and 2016, even 2014 also, for your information, 2014 also. Always on, these are all about SQL versions. My source is 2017, it could be 2017, 2016 or 2014, okay? I think it works even for 2012 also. Let's keep that aside and let's focus on 2017, 2016 and 2014. and my operating system is 2016. Okay, my operating system is 2016. Be very careful when you are talking about this solution because operating system plays a key role here when you are doing rolling upgrade. So I will explain what is rolling upgrade in a second. So operating system is 2016. So I said something like n-1, especially for operating system. So if I do the same thing here, okay. So if I come over here and that is node 3 and node 4, and I wanted to move using always on only, and my target is 2022 and my OS version is 2022. OS version is 2022. SQL version is also 2022. Always on, I'll say SQL version is 2022. Now, rolling upgrade will not work. Okay, rolling upgrade will not work because operating system is 2022 and I said n-1 is the criteria for rolling upgrade. Operating system is 2022. So n-1 means it should be 2019, but my source is 2016. I'm talking about OS here. Okay, so if that is the case, it won't work. If my operating system supports n-1, so that means if it is 2019, okay, then this technology works. Did you get, I mean, is this clear?
Yes, bro.
Okay, so what it's, yeah.
Vamsi, n-1 is applied for destination only.
Yeah, destination. So n-1. So n-1 is nothing but your destination operating system will be a higher version, right? Obviously, because you don't want to go with lower version because licensing, sorry, not just licensing, the end of support will be there even for Windows. Just like SQL Server, this is applicable even for Windows. If that is the case, when you are migrating side by side, we are talking about side by side, definitely this should be a higher version than the current operating system what you are running with. So the target will be, I'm talking about operating system. So target will be either 2019 or 2022 because they are the latest versions. It will be 2022 if you wanted to, or else at least 2019. Okay. Questions. I do agree. If you have any questions, this is the best time to ask. That is the reason I'm saying. Okay. How to remove this?
Eraser, bro.
Yeah.
Use eraser.
That is the reason. Okay, now let's say, for example, my operating system is 2019. Okay. Operating system version is 2019. So now this is eligible. If operating system is 2022, then this technology will not work. So what is rolling upgrade? What are the advantages with rolling upgrade? Let's talk about that. Rolling upgrade, what it does is, this is part of one cluster, right? So obviously this is part of one cluster. Say the cluster name is cluster on-prem. I'll say cluster on-prem as the cluster name. And let's say, for example, listener name as listener on-prem. Just for our reference, I'll say listener app. Okay, listener app. So these two nodes are part of Windows cluster and I have a listener. That's fine. Now, the rolling upgrade. What is rolling upgrade? Rolling upgrade, what we do here is, since operating system is n-1 support, I will add these two nodes to the existing cluster, means to this cluster. Okay, I will add these two nodes, node 3 and node 4. Just write it down. Node 3 and node 4 will be part of the new Windows cluster, not new, the existing cluster. Okay, I will just add these two nodes. So first part, what infra team has to do is they have to add this node 3 and node 4. Of course, not even Windows team, you can do yourself because we are not doing any shared disk here. You just need to install that failover cluster software, not software service, and then you will add to existing cluster to this one cluster underscore on-prem, and node 3 and node 4 will be part of my setup. So how many nodes will be there? If I add this, it will be 4 nodes, right? So 2 nodes are running with 2016 operating system and 2 nodes will be running with 2019 operating system. But when you are adding the nodes, it's very important. Okay, it's very important to remember that you should not be running cluster validation report. I just explained this very clearly in my videos. So if you watch this video, this is the video for rolling upgrade. Okay. So if you watch this video, I highlighted this point, the highlighted about n-1, and I highlighted about not to run cluster validation report. If you run cluster validation report always looks whether the operating system version is same or not. Okay, if it is not the case, it will fail. That is the reason you should not be performing cluster validation report when you are adding node 3 and node 4 to the existing cluster. That is the important point, and you need to stress this point to interviewer. By highlighting this, it shows that you have worked on this, even if you're not. Okay, even if you're not worked on this, that's okay, fine. But since I'm highlighting the important points, you can stress on this, and that shows your confidence level. Okay, that is very important. Even if you're not worked on something, how you project in interviews matters most, right? So these are the two things. Once you highlight these things, it gives a good impression about the candidate, and he feels that you have worked on this technology. Okay, any questions? Only two things. Operating system should be N-1. When you are adding the nodes to the existing cluster, you should not be running cluster validation report. Directly add, just go to the Windows cluster and click on add node and add this node 3 and node 4 to the existing cluster. Now you will have four nodes as part of our Windows cluster. Now what should I do? What should I do? I will add this as two replicas, remaining replicas, node 3 and node 4 to this setup. Okay, to this setup. So now I have three replicas, total 3 secondary replicas. Okay, so initially I had only 1 secondary replica. Since I added node 3 and node 4, now I got 3 secondary replicas. Node 3 is one more replica, node 4 is one more replica. So I have totally 3 secondary replicas. The good side with rolling upgrade is, first of all, it is just a flip. What I will do is I will fail over from node 1 to node 3 once everything is ready. That is first thing. Second thing is you don't need to change the listener name. Okay, there are many dependencies when it comes to names, right? Most of you in your workload, in your real-time environments, there will be a criteria or a prerequisite or requirement saying that I am not in a position to change the listener name. I don't want any C names or any other aliases, something like that. I want my listener name as is. I repeat, I want my listener name as is. I don't want to change my listener name. That is the condition what client is asking. And second condition what he is throwing at you is, I am not willing to give you any downtime. My maximum downtime is less than a minute. Okay, less than a minute. So if these are the two conditions, if your source is 2014 or if your source is 2016, 2017, doesn't matter. This technology works absolutely fine. Any questions? So what I have to do, I just need to add these two nodes to Windows cluster. And then at the time of failover, I will switch them to synchronous because initially I will add them as asynchronous. So node 3 and node 4 will be asynchronous to the existing cluster. At the time of cutover, I will make them as sync and I will ensure there is no data loss. So once there is no data loss, I will fail over from node 1 to node 3. So once you fail over from node 1 to node 3 will become primary and then node 4 will become your secondary. Automatically, you cannot ship the log records from node 3 to node 2 or node 1. Once you fail over from lower version to higher version, you cannot ship your log records from node 3 to node 2 or node 1. So that is, this part will be broken. So this section will be broken and you are left with node 3 and node 4 and you can continue your work. So once everything is fine, you can decommission these two nodes. First, you have to remove the nodes from always on. Second, you have to remove the nodes from Windows cluster. And then finally, decommission those two nodes. Any questions with this technology?
No, clear once again.
For you, it is clear, Zim. So how about others? Just wanted to know if you are in sync with me. Of course, this is working time for many. Yeah, sorry.
I think N-1 means we have OS 2017, right?
No. There is no operating system with 2017 version. When it comes to operating systems, we have 2012, 2016, 2019, and 2022.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. OS is only with 2012, 2016, 2019, and 2022. We don't have 2017 for operating system. In general, again, yeah, go ahead. I would like to take your questions first.
Vamsi, how we consider this is the N-1?
What
on
is
target?
So if
on target.
And target, that's what I'm saying. If your source is 2016, so see, for 2016 SQL or 2017 SQL, generally the OS will be 2016, right? If I'm not wrong, majority of your systems. But in case if your OS is 2012, imagine, okay, there could be because 2017 version will work on operating system 2012 also. Let me show you that. That is the thing that you have to observe. Operating system and SQL Server version. For 20, let's say for example, SQL 2014. SQL 2014 operating system.
Here n minus 1 means latest 1 to minus 1. That is the n minus 1.
Yeah, let's check this part. Okay, this is very important and you have to understand this. SQL Server 2014. Okay, SQL Server 2014 works on Windows Server 2019, works on Windows Server 2016, works on Windows Server 2012. Okay, I'm talking about 2014. Let's take, for example, 2016. 2016 works on what is it? It works on all the technology. If you see here, 2022, okay, if you see here, 2022, it doesn't work on Windows 2012 R2. And it, yeah, and 2019 also, it doesn't work on Windows 2012 R2. So 22 and 2019, both of them will not work on 2012 R2. That means the latest versions will not work on Windows 2012 R2. First of all, you just need to remember that. Second thing, coming to Windows 2016, if my operating system is Windows 2016, every SQL Server version will work. Remove this 2008 for a moment, okay? Because we are talking about 2014 only, right? 2014 or 2012, right? We are not touching 2008. 2008 means there is no other go. You can't work all these things what we are discussing. It should be at least 2014 or 2012. So if you see this chart, remember this chart all the time when you're doing in-place upgrades or rolling upgrade technology. You have to have this in your minds, or just refer this article every time when you are doing this upgrades or this part. Okay. So coming to operating system n-1, where is the diagram? Yeah. So if you see here, my OS is 2016, right? 2016. And I'm moving to 2019 operating system. So definitely SQL Server 22 is supported on 2019. See this chart? SQL Server 22 works on Windows Server 2019. That is fine. Already my source is with 2016. So when my source is 2016, I'm talking about OS. So 2014 is being supported, 2016 is being supported, and also 2017 is being supported when my source is 2016 operating system. Imagine, just imagine, your operating system version is 2012 in place of 2016. Then what happens? Will this technology work? Will this solution work? So first of all, when it is 2012 operating system, okay, when it is 2012 operating system, then I have to move to n-1 because I said n-1 is the criteria for operating system. So I have to choose only 2016 only. I cannot go with 2019 or 2022 because rolling upgrade supports only n-1 operating system criteria. So if that is the case, I cannot go with 2019 and I cannot go with 2022. I have to go with 2016 only. But good side is SQL Server still is being supported on 2016. I mean, SQL Server 2022 and 2019, we can run this on Windows Server 2016. That is also possible. But the bad side with that is Windows Server may be out of date. I mean, since 2016, just like SQL, Windows are also going out of support. So that is the only downside. Okay, so any questions? You have to remember this chart. This is the same chart that works even for in-place upgrade also. Okay, this is the same chart. If you can remember this diagram, half of your job is done. Clear or confusions?
Clear.
So this is about rolling upgrade. So rolling up.
If we are using standard edition with basic available.
No. This is all for enterprise.
If you are using standard edition.
No. Standard edition means you cannot go with this technology at all. We are just talking about enterprise editions here. Basic availability groups, you have to create it for each and every database. That doesn't work at all. That is very difficult. And if you are standard, these all the technologies, what I'm saying is not applicable. It's only for enterprise edition. Let's talk about enterprise edition and just pass the best answer. So we'll come back to standard edition answers later. Okay. So are you clear with this setup, rolling upgrade? When should you use rolling upgrade? n-1 is the criteria. That is first thing. Second thing, you should not be doing cluster validation at the time of adding the nodes. That is very important thing. And when you are doing this, you just need to clip the nodes once you are done with your work. Okay, so everything is being discussed in this video, the third video, rolling upgrade. It's okay to draw because indeed this is what I wanted to point. So this is the video that you have to refer. So the first part, standalone, is being discussed in this video. Okay, 2017. If my source is 2017, and from 2017 only SQL started supported cluster availability groups. So this works for standard edition. Sorry, not standard edition, standalone instance. Okay. So fifth video, you are clear when to make use of it, and third video, you are clear, right? Any questions with fifth and third video? I hope you are clear now.
Clear, bro.
Okay. Now there is fourth video that I already mentioned, something like DAG. Okay. So when can I make use of fourth video? So that is one more scenario. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's open this chart. For example, I will disable annotation now. For example, okay, your source is 2012 here. Okay, your source, I mean to say operating system is 2012. Okay, operating system is 2012. But you wanted to move from SQL 2017 or 2016 or 2014, not 2014 because DAG doesn't support 2014. So your source should be 2016 or 2017. Let's take one more paint and we'll do this. Okay, now the scenario is your operating system is 2012. SQL is 2016 or 2017. Operating system version is 2012. And my target is SQL 2022. Operating system is also 2022 or 2019, doesn't matter. 2019 or 2022. So this is the requirement, what I got. Again, the downtime is less than 1 minute. Requirements I'm saying, downtime is less than 1 minute. Less than 1 minute. And client is willing to accept name change with respect to listener. Client is willing to accept listener name change. Okay, so this is our requirement. So how will you proceed with this scenario? Okay, if this is the scenario, the fourth video will help you to understand that. This one, okay, this one will help you to understand. So coming to this video, coming to this requirement. So my source is 2016 or 2017, but operating system is running on 2012. And my target is 2019 or 2022 operating system. So I cannot go with rolling upgrade here. Because as I said, for rolling upgrade to work, operating system version should be N-1, which is not possible here because even if I go with 2019, the source should be 2016, which is not the case. Okay. Now, but downtime is less than a minute. So that is the problem what I have. So what I will do is I will create one more Windows cluster here. Okay, I will just create Windows cluster and I'll add these two nodes to Windows cluster. Watch this understand this carefully. This will be a new cluster. Okay, so I'm going to create new cluster. I'm not touching the existing cluster. So this will be a completely new cluster and only two nodes will be there as part of this new cluster. And I will create a new listener name also. And I'll create a new listener name. Will be a new listener name. So now once I created these two nodes and created a listener, what I will do is I will employ DAG technology. Rolling upgrade is traditional always on. Okay, you are just adding the nodes to the existing setup. This one, if I take this as my requirement, you are just going to add node 3 and node 4 to the existing cluster. Okay, and we'll just use this always on, whichever that is there, our regular always on. You will just add node 3 as replica, node 4 as replica, and you will just pass the data from node 1 to node 3 and node 4. That is what happens in rolling upgrade with traditional always on. Okay, but rolling upgrade with DAG differs here. When I say DAG, the concept gets differed because I'm going to create a new cluster here. Okay, I'm going to create a new cluster here. I will create a new cluster. Okay, and I will create a listener also. And then I will employ DAG between the old setup and the new setup. Once everything is fine, I will break the setup. I mean, I will just flip over. I will carry on the failover. So once I initiate the failover, this becomes primary. Okay, and then the log records will not get shipped from older to from higher to older. So this gets broken, and you will remove the nodes, and you will remove it from always on, and then from Windows cluster, and you will decommission this everything. So this is the DAG technology. You have to understand the difference, guys. If your operating system version is different from your source and it is not meeting up just criteria of n-1, but still you have to leverage that 1 minute downtime as the client requirement, and client is okay to change the listener name. That is the case. This is the technology that you can make use of. So the same thing, this is also called as rolling upgrade, but thing is that instead of creating and adding the nodes to the existing cluster, I will just create a new cluster. Okay. That is what happens here. Questions? This is the video that you have to understand. That is the reason I mentioned distributed always on between different versions of SQL and Windows. Here, if you see always on between different versions of SQL and Windows, but I didn't mention n-1. I should have mentioned that as part of this discussion. Okay. So is this clear? Like these 3 videos, 3, 4, 5, when to watch and when to make use of these technologies when you are appearing for interviews or for your real-time workload, whatever it is. Is this clear?
Yes, bro.
Okay, 3, 4, 5 is done, and we'll discuss about 1 and 2 later. Most of the people, okay, nowadays they are going with lift and shift also. Okay, that is also the thing that you have to talk in your interviews. Lift and shift is nothing but you are just taking your VM from on-premises and you are just like copy paste. Take that VM and put that VM into AWS or Azure. That is called as lift and shift. So once you carry out lift and shift, what you have to do? That is the next discussion that I have to talk on. Before I go with lift and shift, I am asking for the very last time, is these 3 technologies clear? Okay, lift and shift is something different. I'm going to explain this. I hope there are no questions. Okay, now let's talk about lift and shift. Lift and shift, if you're carrying lift and shift, the advantage with lift and shift is the work that needs to be done from your side is nothing. Very minimal. I can say very minimal. I should not be using the word nothing. It's very minimal. Because if I go with any of the technologies what we discussed here, where is that? This document, right? Standalone or always on being already configured, rolling upgrade or rolling upgrade between using DAG, all these things you have to carry out your work. There is a lot of work that you have to carry out from your side. But if I go with lift and shift, okay, infra team will just take your VM from on-prem and they will keep that VM on AWS side or Azure side. Okay. So usually lift and shift is used to happen with application servers. They are initially when they started with lift and shift, they were going with only application servers. They were not touching DB servers. But nowadays, they started touching the DB servers. Initially, they were using only standalone servers. So they were just touching the standalone servers. And now, in fact, you can do lift and shift for always on servers also. Okay. So technology is changing. That is why I said the technology is changing at rapid pace and you have to employ your technologies accordingly to minimize your downtime. So this is what you should say in your interviews, guys. When you're appearing for interviews, this is something very different. Okay. Lock shipping, backup restore, everyone will talk about those 2 technologies. That is old story. Keep that story away from you. Okay. You have to come up with new stories. I mean, new technologies, new solutions. So if your organization is supporting lift and shift, okay, you don't need to do all this stuff. Okay. Lift and shift supports app servers, standalone DB servers, and even the servers, DB servers that are configured with always on. That is also possible. Okay. Clear? So now if I go with lift and shift, what happens? So what is the thing that I have to do as a DBA? So these are the steps that you have to leverage if your infra team is going with lift and shift technology. Okay, lift and shift. So what they will do is, okay, let's take for example this one, or else this one. They will, for example, this is the target and this is the source. So this is on premises. So they will just lift this mission as is to here. Okay, they will just lift this mission as is and they will just paste it here. Copy, paste, copy, paste. So they will just do copy and paste. So node 3 and node 4 will not be with node 3 and node 4 names. It will be with node 1 and node 2 only. So there will not be any changes with names also. So that is the advantage with lift and shift. The names remains the same. Okay, that is very good thing. And only IP differs. IP differs. Obviously, you will not have same IP here. So this IP and this IP will be different. So your underlying IP addresses will get changed, but the names remain same. So that is the advantage what you get with lift and shift. And you don't need to do anything because they are just copying this mission to Azure and they are AWS and pasting it over here. Lift and shift. It's just like you are migrating from old house to new house and you are carrying all your items along with you. Lift and shift. You are lifting your items and packing it and shifting that to new house, as the name says. Okay, now as a DBA, what are the steps that you need to carry out when you are going with lift and shift technology? Lift and shift. So this is what I'm saying. I'm just discussing about my environment. Your environment may differ. So let's discuss the steps. Is this clear? Lift and shift. When can I make use of lift and shift? Can I use it for app servers? Yes. Can I use it for standalone servers? Yes. Can I use it for servers that are configured with always on? Yes. Lift and shift works for all different types. Okay. So currently, in my setup, I'm talking about my environment. My on-premises is with 2019 availability groups. Okay. So always on availability groups is already configured and it is running with 2019. Okay. So at the time of lift and shift, what you have to do? You have to stop the services. Okay. You have to stop the SQL services. Okay. Infra team will carry out lift and shift, means copy paste. So once the missions are provisioned on Azure virtual machine, we need to start the SQL services. So when you are starting the SQL services, before starting the SQL services, ensure that Windows cluster is up and running. So I didn't write this step. I will just add this and I will share that with you. Ensure that Windows cluster is running fine. So now the question is, the names remains the same. That is fine. But IP changes, right? Do you think Windows cluster will work as expected? I think every one of you are doing work. I am not denying that.
No, bro, it not work.
No, it will not work directly.
Yeah. So what you have to do is you have to get one free IP. I mean, infra team will give you that. In case if they are not, you have to get one free IP and you need to pass that IP for your Windows cluster. Okay, Windows cluster, you have to. It will be in offline state because the IP will be different, right? So it will be in offline state. So you have to get one free IP and you have to make use of that free IP for Windows cluster. If this part is being taken care by infra team, you can ignore, or if this part is to be taken care by you, you have to keep this in your mind. I have to first concentrate on Windows cluster. And for that, I need to get a different IP. The name remains the same. There will not be any changes with name. So you have to get that free IP and network team has to bind this new IP with that name. Okay. So that binding should be there. That is the reason usually Winfra team will take care of this step. That is so I didn't mention this, but in case it has to be done from your side, ensure that binding is there between that new IP and that old Windows cluster name. That should be there. So once that is done, we'll start the SQL services. Okay. Then now coming to SQL services, once you start that on premises, you know that I have discussed this very clearly. There is a support for MAC address and the broadcasting protocol is being supported. So that is the reason you don't need to go with the VNN or DNN on premises. But once you move using lift and shift, you have to make use of either VNN or DNN, right? Obviously, because it won't work once you move to Azure VMs. So it depends upon your requirement. So if you want DNN is very easy to configure. Okay. So you don't need to create that load balancer, that static rules, health probes, everything can be eliminated if you use DNN. If you use DNN, straightforward, you have to run that script, whatever that is, PowerShell script, what I have shown in the past for DNN classes. You have to get that script and you have to run that script. So once you run that script, DNN will be configured. So this is the only thing that you have to be careful with. Okay, you have to ask before moving this as part of lift and shift, and you have to explain this to the client saying that once we move from on-premises to Azure, Azure doesn't support broadcasting protocols. So I have to go with either VNN or DNN. So VNN is difficult to configure compared to DNN, and you have to run that PowerShell script for DNN configuration. So once it gets created, there will be file share witness in on-premises. You have to remove that and you have to go with cloud witness. That is the next step. Once that is done, app team, if there is any requirement with the app team for port numbers, for example, I'll give you a case. If your app works only with 1433, okay, if your app works only with 1433 and they're not willing to pass that listener name, port number, then you have to use load balancer only. You cannot go with DNN because DNN cannot make use of 1433. It has to use some other port. Okay, so this is the dependencies what you have. I'll talk about this in a much detailed way, maybe in next interview session. Is this clear? If I go with lift and shift, what are the things that I need to be aware of? The things that you need to be aware of is if you are moving standalone servers, it's fine. You don't need to do anything. There will be very much less work because there is no always on. You will just stop the services. Once the Windows team lift and shift that, you need to start the services and check the DB states. But in case of always on setup, that is there already on-premises, then if you carry out lift and shift, ensure that you have to go with VNN or DNN and you have to get the client requirements. Very, 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 very important client requirement is if client is not willing to pass port number along with the listener name, then you cannot use DNN. It has to be a load balancer. Remember that part. If client is okay to pass the listener name, port number, then you can go with DNN. Okay. Maybe I will show you my real-time environment. Then you'll get to know like what is the stress why I'm taking that stress. Any questions? I need to go off in.
Vamshi, just one question.
Yeah.
Step number 3, like, how do we know how much time? Because that is the actual downtime of the application, right? How do we know how much time it would really take to lift and shift a machine?
There is something called as Azure Migration Appliance. Okay, so I will discuss this in my upcoming session. So this will carry out that migration and everything. So I cannot show you this. If I will ask my Windows team and I will get the time limits based on the sizes and everything, and I will share that with you because this is something that will be done from their side and they have to provide that thing. I will let you know just for information. Yesterday we moved, I think roughly around 3 servers. I mean, totally 6 servers because they are part of Always On. So totally 6 servers, 2 replicas for each server. I mean, for each application. So totally 6 servers, each is having 2 replicas. So for example, I will say 101, 102. Those are 2 servers, 201, 202, 301, 302. So totally 6 servers. They started it at 6 o'clock and they moved it by 7:30.
Okay. So in the same window, they would have moved the app and web servers also, right?
Yes, they moved everything at one shot. But as I said, if the downtime is acceptable, you can go with lift and shift. That is the best solution.
Okay.
Because you just need to carry out minimal stuff from your end. But again, it depends upon your requirements. That is what I'm saying. You have to gather the requirements, and these are the requirements are the most important thing that you have to present in interviews. So when the interview is asking question, you have to ask these questions. Like, okay, if I wanted to go with lift and shift, what is the requirement? Like, you have to ask whether the client is going to make use of the listener name, port number. Why I'm asking this question? Because DNN has to go with some other port rather than 1433. So if the client is having such dependencies, I cannot go with DNN. I have to go with load balancer. That is why I'm asking this question to you. So if you start asking questions, it means that you are very confident and you have worked on it, and interviewer will stop, at that point itself. If interviewer is someone like egoistic, then I can't help. If someone who is good at understanding your answers, then it is good for you. It should be a knowledge discussion between interviewer and the candidate, but sometimes there are egoistic interviewers. In that case, I can't help much. Okay, so yeah, this is what I need to stop here, but we'll discuss further. I hope you got the technologies that you can make use of when migrating from on-prem to IaaS, and especially like when to watch these videos. I just explained only 3 here. We still need to work on these 2, and we're gonna I'm gonna take more interview questions for you, because you should be confident when appearing for interviews. That is the reason. Don't pass that old answers of lock shipping and backup restore. Only if you are on 2008, that's okay. But if you are on at least from 2014, stop doing that, and let's talk about different technologies, different solutions. Okay. Okay. I need to stop now because I have a meeting in 1 more minute. Thanks, guys. I just shared on the fly, but thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah.